Hi, everyone. Hi, Victoria. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, just let us wait for a minute more to see anyone else is joining before I'll start the lessons, okay? Now, but if you have any questions, feel free to just type it in the chat box and do let me know, okay? Just wait a little bit more. How's your day, Victoria? Okay. Hi, Victoria, just to check with you, can I just check whether next year will you be P5 or P6? Which level will you be for next year? Primary 5 or primary 6? Next year is P4 or this year is P4? Oh, okay. Okay. Hi, Tihan. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, no issue. Okay, I'm going to start with today's questions. Now, today we are going to learn more about constant difference. Now, for constant difference, this is a very common topic. Okay, it has been something that have you learned in your primary 4 and moving on for P5 and P6. This is one of the classic questions too. Now, can anyone identify for me what kind of question fall under constant difference? What are some of the classic questions that fall under constant difference? Good. Age is one of the questions. What else? Age is one type. We also have equal changes, right? There's two different types of questions. So today I'm going to work on two types of questions. Yes. Okay, I'm working on two types of questions for today. Now, for those, I know there are some of a P4 student in the class. During the last lesson, we also went through some of the constant difference. Now, I'm going to show you the difference between what is the difference between a P4 level of constant different questions and an upper primary constant different question, okay? So they are both fall under the same topic of age, but what is the main difference between them? So let's take a look at the first question, okay? Now, this is the first question, and I want all of you to just take out a piece of paper and try to work on it. Okay, so first of all, the age question for this one. Mrs. Sabrina is 3 times as old as her son. Her son's age was 1 out of 6 of Mrs. Sabrina's age 12 years ago. How old is Mrs. Sabrina in 4-year terms? Now, this is a classic question. Any question that involves age is usually linked to the topic of constant difference. So for this particular question, now what would you guys suggest me to do? A model table, a model method, or should I do the BCA table? What do you guys think I should do? Remember, we learned before BCA table, we learned before models, two different ways to do so. Definitely model is fine. So I'm going to show you the two types of method, okay? So let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to cover both. I'm going to draw the model, then I'm going to draw the table for BCA, then we'll solve it, okay? So for model-wise, first one, Mrs. Sabrina is 3 times as old as her son. So when you're drawing a model, we are going to draw Mrs. Sabrina 3 boxes. So Mrs. Sabrina, the son, okay? I'm going to draw 3 boxes because it's 3 units, and then just one little part for the sun. Then I just indicate in this. So this is based on the first information that I know. 3 times belongs to Mrs. Sabrina, and the sun is only 1 unit. Next, they say her son's age was 1 out of 6 of Mrs. Sabrina's age 12 years ago. Now, I want all of you to focus on my model. I drew this model based on now, the difference between Sabrina and her son now. But if I want to draw 12 years ago, should I add more boxes to my model or should I cut? What do you think? This is about 12 years ago. So when I want to indicate that 12 years ago in my model drawing, should I add in more boxes to it or should I cut away a portion of it? What do you guys suggest that I should do now? 12 years ago. Very good, because ago was in the past. And this model is based on now, so I want to cut out 12 years ago. And because 12 years ago, remember key thing, 12 years ago, you will be 12 years younger, I will be 12 years younger. Both of them has to cut away the same size. So I'm just going to label out a portion of it. And I'm just going to indicate at the back. And I'm going to put this as 12 years ago. Equal portion, because both of them will be the same. Very good. Very good. And you can notice that in terms of the age difference, right? This said that Mrs. Sabrina is now 6 units and the son is only 1. So this is only 1 unit. So what happens to the rest? They want Mrs. Sabrina to be 6, right? So this is also 1 unit. What do you notice about the difference between them? So this must be the 5 units. Can you see that? Now, so you realize that the age difference between Mrs. Sabrina and her son, whether it's now or 4 years later or 12 years ago, it is always the same. Okay, so to make things work, you just have to cut the boxes into the same sizes. So if it's 5 units and I only see 2 boxes, I just have to make them into equal size. So to make them the same, 5 and 2, each box must be 5 boxes, right? Because common multiple of 5 and 2 is? Common multiple of 5 and 2 must be? Xingyuan mentioned about 2 units plus 24 is 5 units. Yes, that's true. You can also work from there. So Xingyuan, that's fine. Otherwise, I can make them the same common multiple. So 5 and 2 common multiple is 10. So each box must be 5 units. 5 units. Okay, because I multiply everything by 2 to become 10. So this will now change to 2 units. This is now 2 units. Reason because I am changing them to common multiple. So 5 and 2 common multiple is 10. So I want them to be 10. And to make it 10, I have to multiply all my boxes by 2. Get this point? So from there, I will notice that, okay, 1 tiny box here is 5 units. 1 little part here is 2. So my 12 years ago must be this 12 years ago. So we know that 3 units actually represent 12. Then you can work from here. So this is based on model method. Now, another way is doing the BCA table, which I taught you guys a few lessons back. Okay, so if you are doing the BCA table, this is how it looks like. BCA means before, change, after. And each question is about constant difference. So when I work on my table, I need to have one more row column itself for the difference. Okay, so I will have, let me write down the name. Okay, I will have Mrs. Sabrina, so no, wrong name. Before, change, after, Mrs. Sabrina, the son, and the difference. So Mrs. Sabrina, 3 units, the son, 1 unit, difference, 2 units. Let's talk about 12 years ago, so both minus 12. Okay, Mrs. Sabrina now became 6 units. The son is only 1, difference is 5. So to make them the same, because age difference is always the same, I want to make 2 and 5 to become common. So I need to multiply the whole row by 5. So if you do notice that if I multiply this first whole row by 5, bottom multiply everything by 2. Okay, then they will all, the difference under the column of difference, they'll now all become 10 units. So we can observe from before, it is used to be 15 units. In the end, became 12 units. So what's the changes? From 15 to become 12, it linked back. 3 units represent 12. Yes, so you see both methods give us the same clue. It's just how would you like to present it? Would you want to put it in model or would you want to put it in table? But the conclusion that we make is the same. From the conclusion, we can tell that the difference is 3 units. So 3 units represent 12 and they want to find Mrs. Sabrina in 4 years' time. Yes, I would say that anything got to do with total unchanged, difference unchanged, single unchanged, BCA table is usually much straightforward than model drawing. Okay, unless you're talking about like remainder questions, then modern method. Otherwise, the rest of single unchanged, total unchanged, constant difference, BCA. Okay, so now we make this conclusion. I want to find Mrs. Sabrina in 4 years' time. What should I do next? After we know that 3 units stands for 12. What is the next step? Anyone have any idea? What should I do next? I know my 3 units stands for 12. I need to continue with other calculations. What should I find now? Okay, so 3 units is 12. I want to find 1 unit, which is 12 divided by 3 to get 4. Now, yes, Qihan, you want to plus 4, but I need to find the h now before I can plus 4. So I find what is my 1 unit, followed by what? To find Mrs. Sabrina now, how many units should I be focusing at? To find Mrs. Sabrina H now, should I be looking at the before or should I be looking at after? Very good. You want to focus on now, which is before. After is the changes 12 years ago. So you want to take a look at the 15 units. So I want to find from here 15 units. Very good. You find 15 units, which is 4 times 15. We can get 60. Then 4 years time means 4 years later. 60 plus 4 to become 64. Then remember, when you're answering the question, this is about age. Please make sure you give proper units. Put 64 years old, because how old? So this is my units that I should be written as. Any questions? Okay, so remember, anything regarding age is constant difference. The difference does not change. So focus, if you're using BCA, just make the difference units to be the same by using common multiple. Okay, all clear? Okay, if you're clear with this one, we're going to try the second type. Second type refers to equal change. Now, what does the meaning of equal change represent? Let me clear this one first. Okay, second type of question is known as equal change. Equal changes means that when you add in or you remove the same quantity. So for example, if I have 2 boxes of sweets, if mommy gave both of us, if mommy add in the same equal number of sweets into the blue boxes, or remove the same number of sweets from both boxes, the difference does not change at all. Example, if my box A and box B each have 30, if I now decided to add 5, I'm sorry, not 30, not equal. If this is, let's say, example 45. So the difference is 15, right? Equal change meaning if I decided to add an equal number, will my difference change? My difference remain unchanged. If I decided to take away 10 from each box, the difference is still remain unchanged. So when we talk about equal change, we look out for keywords where it indicated that both boxes or both persons receive or remove the same quantity. That tells you a clue of difference unchanged. If they added in or remove a different quantity, that's fall under all changing, which is using units and parts. That is a 2 different concepts. Okay, so when you do your work, read it carefully. So this question mentioned about box A, box B contains some biscuits in the ratio of 7:13. After Sean added 56 biscuits into each box, so they both added equal quantity into both boxes, the ratio of box A biscuit to box B biscuit became 5:7. How many more biscuits were there in box B than box A at first? Very good. That's 7 units and 30 units. Very good. So now let's understand the question. Now, for ratio questions, of course, if you want to draw 7 units and 13 units, go ahead. Otherwise, just put it in units method. You don't have to change. So for ratio, I recommend you to put in BCA table. Since it's already given to you in units, you don't have to change it into model drawing. Okay, so I'm using BCA. So same thing, because I know that this is talking about constant difference, I need one more column for the difference. So this will be box A, box B, difference, before, change, after. Now, first statement is always referring to your before. Added in something is the change, and what you end up with is your after. So we just put in the units, 7, 13. What's my difference? What is the difference between 7 units and 13 units? 13 take away 7 give us? What would that give us? 13 take away 7. We can get 6 units. Okay, now both added 56. So added 56 to each box. You ended up with 5:7. So put 5 units, put 7 units. Difference is 2. Understand what I'm writing here? So I'll just fill in the boxes based on what we know. And then remember, constant difference. So I need to change my units to be the same. Then look at the common multiple between 2 and 6. What is my first common multiple? What is my first common multiple between 2 and 6? Anyone know the common multiple between 2 and 6? Okay, 2 and 6 common multiple is just 6. Now, some students ask, teacher, can I use 12? Now, you can do 12, but Sihan, if you do realize that if you make it to 12, you have to change both your top and bottom row. But if you list down the timetable of 2 and 6, in fact, the first common multiple is 6, not 12. So I don't have to change both. I can just focus on the after by multiply each term by 3. Yes, it's easier. Nothing wrong with changing to 12, but it's just that you're doing extra work, extra calculation to change both top and bottom row. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we don't want to have, the more things you need to change, the more careless mistake you may make. So lesser step is better. Okay, so that becomes 15 units. This is 21. This is 6. So now the changes is fixed. Now we can compare what represent 56. So before, you can take either A or B, it's fine. First of all, I want to know 56 represent how many units. So before, I have 7 units. Okay, I'm looking at column A. Before is 7 units. In the end, it's 15 units. So my changes between it is 8 units. 15, take away 7 is 8. Or you can take 21 minus 13, it gives you the same thing. It still stands for 8. So 8 units represent 56. So 1 unit will represent 56 divided by 8 to get 7. Now they want to know how many more biscuits were there in box B than box A at first. So if I want to look for at first, look at my before. So what is the difference between the units of box A and box B? Very good. So 13 minus 7 give us 6 units. So my final step, 6 units. Oh, sorry. 6 units represent 7 multiplied by 6 to get 42. So my answer, 42. That's it. So, and this of the constant difference, they can also make use of ratio. Ratio is a concept that you're going to learn in P5. So they combine ratio together with constant difference. In fact, if I want to make it even harder, I can change one of my ratio to percentage. Or I can use it, I can say that box A is now, after adding in 56 biscuits into each box, box A is now 3 times, or box A is now 45% of B. I can make things harder by changing it into like percentage or asking to find more things. Okay, so this is one of the more straightforward. It's just comparing of units. Understand? A classic question for this one is usually just worth about 3 marks in exam. It's not one of those that give a lot. It's about roughly about 3 to 4 marks, depending on how many steps they require. This is just about three marks questions. Clear? Any questions you want to ask before we end off today's section? I hope you learn more about how to solve questions related to constant difference. Next week, we are learning more about units and parts, which is when the both situation changes with a different value. Like A could receive 56, B take away 10. So it's something difficult for us to compare, and we're going to learn all about how to deal with such questions. Okay? Any questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, we will end off today's sessions. I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye. Okay, thank you for joining. Bye. You too. Bye.